Hello, everybody. This is Spot of Nerd, and I don't even know where to begin. What we're going to talk about in this podcast, of course, is going to be politics. Just giving you the fair warning right now. If you don't care, frankly, you should. So I hope you will listen or watch whichever platform you may be seeing this on. But the bottom line is we will be continuing these topics of conversation well into the future because this is obviously this is history, and this is the worst kind of history. And I'm referring to the Durham report. The most current information that has just come out, along with so much other levels of treason and corruption that is just simply unfathomable, that I'd never, ever in my entire life would have ever expected to witness literally day after day, just living in these United States of America. And it is so important right now to make sure that not only are you aware of what's going on, that you hopefully will in yourself, you will actually go and research a lot of these issues, a lot of these topics, a lot of these, basically these level of just tyranny. And I can't even think of the words really to put together of just the shit show. And what it comes down to, especially today with this Durham report, if I were to literally, if you remember the episode of The Office, explain it to me like I was 5 years old, when Michael and Oscar are, if you watch The Office, you know the episode. But the bottom line is, what it comes down to simply is this. The United States, specifically the Clintons, weaponized the United States political and governmental aspects, specifically the FBI, to literally go after a sitting president, aka President Donald Trump, during his presidency. So where do the consequences of this go? If there are any consequences at all, which obviously you can pretty much gather, there are none. The FBI of the United States literally was used to try and get the President of the United States out of office. Do you understand what I'm telling you? Do you understand the level of corruption, the level of treason, the level of absolute horseshit that this is? And yes, I'm speaking loudly and passionately and everything in between, because this is shit you see from 1940s Nazi Germany. This is shit you see in communist China. We see it every single day. We've seen it for the last several years. If you are a right-wing conservative, if you are simply a right-wing, if you are a conservative, if you are a Christian, if you are anything against the narrative, against the agenda, against the norm, quote unquote, you are the extremist. You are the racist, the bigot, everything in between. Trust me, I've been called every single one of them. But the fact of the matter is, and it scares me to death, is that now we are officially targeted, and quite frankly, we are targeted at the highest level. Now, obviously, I would hope and I would pray the average citizen, as long as you abide by the laws, don't do stupid shit, live your life, hopefully, you can do just that. You can just live your life. But what happens, as we've always been discussing throughout the years and this channel and everybody else in between that has a similar mindset to me? What happens when they start going after you because of a belief, because of a way you view things and situations? What happens when we go to a digital currency and you have something on your social media that they don't like, so they deduct half of your paycheck because they don't like the way you view things? What happens when a certain group, let's just allegedly say, decide that they don't wish to become a part of a medical experiment, and then they train the other half to literally just spew vile, horrible shit towards them, make them look like they're evil and disgusting and horrible, almost like they did back in the 1940s Germany with the Jews by putting stars on their clothing. Imagine if they did that. Oh, no, that would just be alleged. That would be completely a fallacy. No way in hell could that ever happen in today's world. Only to find that, guess what? Let's just say those individuals possibly might have been right from the start. They weren't against, treating yourself. They weren't against getting the proper medical care. They weren't against the situation. They simply wished to do their own research. They simply wished to go by their own views. They simply wished to uphold their own morals and standards. But in their view, they're the extremist. They're the devil. So what do you do in this situation? Is this a win? The Durham report with Trump, etc., Comey? Abso-fucking-lutely. This is one of the greatest, and this is why it is history. This is one of the greatest victories Trump will ever have. Because the bottom line is, the fact that this report came out and said that there was nothing in relation to the Russia-Trump election interference mumbo-jumbo. This is now more proof, huge amount of proof, that all the other crap, this man was berated, if that's the right word, I think that's the right word, for years. They tried to impeach him. They tried to do this. They tried to do that. Every other day it was, you're racist this, you're racist that, you're bigot this, you're bigot that, you're a horrible this, you're a horrible that. Only to come 4 years later to find out that, guess what? You were wrong. He was right. Amazing when that happens. Because now, hopefully, and this is where the victory comes in, hopefully even those that just despise and hate Trump, hopefully can look at this even just objectively, just for a moment, and go, hold on a second. And that's it. Just pause for one moment in your life and go, hold on. Something isn't right here. And you would be correct. This isn't right. This isn't okay. Because the ones that make the rules, when they don't have anybody to watch over them, as far as when the consequences or reprimanding, whatever you want to call it, when there's nobody else, that is when you repeat some of the most horrific events in history. Different times, different places, different issues, etc., so on and so forth. But it always comes back to the same thing. Corruption, tyranny, treason, God forbid, loss of life. God forbid, changing a viewpoint so drastically of people, dividing people so divisively, again, if that's a word, that we essentially turn into what we've prayed every day we not become, if that makes sense. Again, I've got to be careful with the ways sometimes I word this stuff, but hopefully you get where I'm going. Because again, as much as this situation with the Durham report is downright scary, it's downright horrific, it is also one of the greatest victories, frankly, in my opinion, of all time. Because finally, the news has done what it is supposed to do. It's supposed to provide you the news, the truth, the facts. And the fact is, you have been lied to for years. You have been purposely controlled and decided to go against this, to go against that, to divide against this, to divide against that. They don't call it television programming for nothing. So I hope and I pray every single day that more and more of us are waking up to this and seeing what it really is all about. And I pray that Trump gets back in there and just eradicates all of this bullshit. There needs to be a drastic change in the way that this country is governed. If you don't see that, then you are really not paying attention. You put a 50-plus year politician back into office who literally has no idea where he is going. You can see it every single time he gets up on a podium. You're telling me this man is in control? You're telling me this man is not being guided or positioned or told what to say and what to do? The man is given literal cards to read. We are in a place in this time, in this, I guess, in this space, quote unquote, where real change needs to happen, and it needs to happen for the betterment of humans around the world. But it ain't gonna happen by sitting back and just letting it go, I guess is really what I'm trying to get at. You gotta do something. Even if it just means, like I've said, research this stuff, look into it, start to question it, look at your own life and go, this isn't okay. And then, yes, when something happens again, say for an election or whatever it might be, get out there, make the difference, make the change, do something about it so that we do not continue to go down this path. Because I don't know about you, but my life has not improved with this guy over the last 2 years. Now 3 years, I guess. Has yours? I'm talking in every aspect: economy, health, life, humanity coming together. Remember that was his thing? We're going to bring people together. We are more divided now than ever. And it's only proof. Again, go look at the Durham report. Another familiar name you might be familiar with goes by the name of Obama. Guess what? He was also in there too. You might want to look that up. Might find some interesting information there. But we've got to do something about this. I'm not saying you're going to change the world. I'm not telling any sort of, I would never, like I've always said, I would never, ever, ever say anything towards violence of any kind. But you got to get out there with the vote. We have got to get these people out. That's honestly, it's really the only way I can see it. There's other ways, of course, with the boycotting of, if you don't like something, then don't buy it. If you don't like, a movie or whatever, then don't watch it. Blah, blah, blah. But when it comes to your governing bodies, we have got to get the treasonous out. And there's no other way to say it. Because if you look up the definition of treason, this is what is happening. Just look at the money that is going into the Biden's pockets right now from outside foreign affairs. Again, that's another topic we'll talk about another time. The $10 million that just happens to appear in the Biden's family. I mean, hey, like they said in the news, they've got bills to pay. How else are you going to do it? 20 shell companies, really? That's called money laundering. Trust me, I watched, what was it? Yeah, I watched Breaking Bad. I know how it looks. I mean, again, I know the basics of it. Not any professional, but, looks pretty clean cut to me. That's another one you should look into. It's pretty crazy shit. So I will calm it down. I will pipe it down and kind of finish this episode up. But I hope you will take some time and look into some of these issues, some of these reports, some of these historical moments, and really start to take a look at the grand scheme of things, the bigger picture. We can get, I do, from an optimistic standpoint, I genuinely believe we can come back from this. We just have to wake up. We have to come together, and we've got to stop the dividing and the division bullshit. We've got to start paying attention to what really fucking matters. And I can promise you, it is not TikTok. Just do me that favor, honestly. Just take one topic in the news right now and go further. Dig deeper. It might scare you to death, it might not, it might make you more open to things, it might not do anything at all, but if anything, it will at least inform you of something else other than what Twitter told you today about somebody taking a shit. Just do it for good old Spot a Nerd. And I promise you, your life will be actually better because you will have learned something, quite frankly, that is anything but the crap you're being served right now. You know what I'm talking about. Could be anything from your social media to your news crap, etc. So, with all that said, again, I really do appreciate everybody, if you got this far in this podcast, for listening, for watching, etc. We're going to keep talking about these topics well into the future, especially too, I mean, don't even get me started on Elon. As much as I love the guy, fucking the one he just hired, the new CEO lady. Huh? Question mark? Really? What? When, how, if, where, what? It just doesn't make sense. But at the same time, it also makes perfect sense if you look again at the bigger grand scheme of things. So, with all that said, if you lovelies would all, if you haven't already, subscribe, follow, like, comment. Let me know what you think. Am I whacked out of my mind? Or do you maybe think, hey, this is some pretty fucked up shit? Maybe. You know what I mean? Who knows? I would really love it and appreciate it if you could do that everywhere you see us. Of course, Rumble, 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 Rumble. Subscribe on the YouTubes. Follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and of course the Instagrams, which is, if you want to find us there, we are at spot_of_nerd. I post some pretty funny stuff there, so check it out. Until then, I found, actually, I'll leave you guys with this. It was a really funny joke. Speaking of money laundering, it was, how do you launder $100 billion? You crane it. Ayo. Alrighty, y'all. We will see you next time. Later.